So,
Days 11, 12, and 13. We're really bad at this. So day 11 was Wednesday.
yep.
We went to the Norris Geyser Basin in Yellowstone, which is actually multiple stops.
Oh yeah. Well, there's more than one geyser basin. I mean, there's of the Norris. There was the upper, the mid, and the lower, and then there was another
Black
West
Sand
Thumb.
and Biscuit and Old Faithful.
So many geyser basins.
So Norris Geyser Basin is just, I think, a section of Yellowstone, and that's the section that we did on Wednesday. So we saw a lot of little steam pots, and we saw the Grand Prismatic Spring, which was the whole reason that I wanted to come to Yellowstone at all, was to see that.
The colors are amazing. The fact that nature can make those colors.
And to put them together. It's not like when you go other places and, you see the ocean and it's kind of like ocean colors, like blue and teal and sand. And this is insane. It's like bright, vivid yellow, mustardy, chartreuse, sunflower yellow next to bright fire orange, laid up right next to the purest turquoise, blue, green, teal that you've ever seen in this clear water. Is like a cave down in there. All of it smells horrible. I'm just saying. I mean, we touched on that a little bit when we were talking about Mammoth Hot Springs. Everything in Yellowstone, if it steams, it stinks really bad.
Lots of sulfur. There's lots of sulfur. I mean, it's just natural for the volcano.
It just stinks. And we stink. Like, our clothes from that day stink. My hair stinks. You all know that I'm ratchet nasty, so I haven't washed my hair since then. That's happening directly after this video because my hair still smells like egg salad, doesn't it, babe?
Egg salad.
What else? Well, we saw Old Faithful.
Old Faithful was neat. We got to go into Old Faithful Lodge and saw its construction, which was amazing from an engineer standpoint. The old log construction, 5 stories tall at least. Just huge timbers and amazing architecture. But the whole Yellowstone, the whole Old Faithful Lodge complex was just massive. Massive on a scale that we had not seen before going there.
Right. There's the lodge and there's
thousands of rooms and
the
guests.
inn, and it has its own. All of the lodges have their own dining room and everything, but around Old Faithful they have like the semicircle, the benches that go almost all the way around it. There's the hotel and the lodge and the general store and like a museum visitor center. It was, in and of itself, Old Faithful could be a national park.
What was your impression of Old Faithful itself?
I thought it was so neat. I mean, you see videos and pictures of it. It wasn't really anything surprising. Like, we knew.
No, I mean, you knew it was going to be water coming out of the ground. It's going to shoot up in the air. But you could hear the deep rumble sounds that can't be captured by a microphone or not being in person. You could feel just the reverberations of the ground shaking as it spit that water out, and just the crowd's reaction to it too.
And the collection of people, because everybody that comes to Yellowstone is going to see Old Faithful. So it was really neat. I mean, it was
me and Kelly from America,
and that was it. And then I think there was like another family sitting in front and to the right. We got there about 45 minutes before Old Faithful was due to go off, so we went and got ourselves a seat. It was
beautiful, bright, sunny day.
Nice weather. So we just hung out for a bit and kind of went through some of the pictures that we had taken and talked about some of the other things we'd seen, because this was after we'd gone to like the
Prismatic Spring, I mean, all that stuff. We'd seen all that.
Right. Old Faithful was pretty much the last thing that we saw on that day. It didn't disappoint. I kind of thought it was going to be one of these things maybe that was just
like a big letdown.
Overhyped. No. It wasn't. It was really, really neat to see.
And we did get some good footage of that too. So.
For sure.
Yeah.
So then after that, we headed
to try to get some ice cream and saw that line.
It was a bummer. So we waited until we got back and had ice cream at our lodge. Now, is that the day that we moved in?
That is the day we moved to our lodge. So after Old Faithful, we drove there.
We left from the tiny house on Wednesday morning and drove down through the park and went and saw all the geysers and all this. And Then we went and checked in we stayed at Grant Village Lodge, which I would compare kind of to like the Belton Chalet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the infrastructure of the hotel was, it had been redone more recently, I think, than the Belton, but it was still no TV, no air conditioning.
Old creaky
boards. Like, you could hear everything. I won't elaborate.
Everything
that was happening everywhere. A lot. So yeah,
we shared the hotel with a couple old folks.
Buses, like organized trips. That was neat.
And you could hear everything. So you could hear everything in that hotel. The walls were thin. We also had this air compressor, I think, for the water well system of the hotel directly below our room. So every time it went off, it woke me up. I could hear it running and pressurizing the system for, 10, 15 minutes. And then it would stop and I'd go back to sleep. Kelly, when she's asleep, she will sleep through it all.
I'm a champion sleeper.
But definitely, paper thin walls in that hotel. It definitely been redone. Pricey to stay in the park. Convenience wise, though, it saved you an hour and a half of driving to get to different areas.
Yeah.
So it was worth it.
Again, I don't know, then did we mention, so this was like the oldest place that we stayed besides Belton. So there's no TV, no Wi-Fi, no cell service,
nothing.
So,
dial up would have been lightning speed.
Yeah. So it was pretty much, it was okay because these were a couple of really action-packed, like, go from the time your feet hit the floor in the morning until it was time to bed. So, I mean, we were pretty much tired by the time we got back to the room. But it's not good sleeping. I mean, crappy pillows, just okay bed, can't regulate the temperature, but yeah, convenience factor, you can't beat that. And it's really close to the general store in Yellowstone, which has really delicious ice cream. Just saying.
Yeah.
I ate ice cream like every day.
The next day when we woke up, we went down to the Grand Tetons, through the National Forest on down to the Tetons National Park. So about 45 minutes or so, crossing Continental Divide twice to leave Yellowstone. And then we got into the National Forest below Yellowstone for about 25 minutes or so before entering into the Grand Tetons National Park.
Overall impression of the Grand Tetons, it's beautiful. The mountains are absolutely beautiful.
Jackson Lake's beautiful.
Beautiful. The lodge, the Jackson Lake Lodge, is amazing, built by John Rockefeller.
Yeah, apparently when he met there with the park superintendent from Yellowstone way back when.
Oh, right.
They met there on this hillside where the lodge sits and said, "This is the best view of those mountains there. I love those mountains. I don't want anything built between my lodge and those mountains or on the right or left or in front. So I want you to buy all of this, including those mountains." And so he did. And then he turned it over to the National Park Service.
And yeah, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. So I think that we might have been a little desensitized after spending a full week in Glacier National Park and then most of the week in Yellowstone. By the time we made it to the Tetons, we were like, it's so small, because Glacier and Yellowstone are such giant expanses of land. You could go there 10 times or every year forever and never see every square foot of it.
No.
Which, I mean, the Tetons, it's still a giant it's a good sized piece of land in comparison to a lot of other parks and things that we've been to. But, putting it right on the tail end of doing Yellowstone and Glacier and this big epic trip, we were like, oh, the whole thing is just driving down looking at these mountains. Oh.
Yeah, and it's like the same mountains. So, I mean, really you can see, from the moment you can see them, you can see them until you can't see them.
No.
It's the same mountains. Like, there's no new range that shows up or you're wrapping around.
There were different things you'd see from different perspectives. For instance, the one mountain has this big, thick, black stripe down the top of it underneath this beige cap. And when you read into it, the beige cap is actually seafloor from when this mountain was not a mountain, and this black stripe is magma from the volcanic eruption 775 million years ago. That's crazy.
And then, the forces of the earth pushed it up, turned it into a mountain, and you can see what it is now.
Well, and different perspectives again, like as you get further past, then you could see several of those mountains have tiny little glaciers on them. I believe it's Teton itself, or I don't know if it was that or Mount Moran, that has like 5 smaller glaciers on it. So again, after seeing the grand majesty of Glacier National Park, this was like mini. It was a mini, but it was beautiful. I think had we gotten off a plane in Jackson Hole and immediately gone there, we would have been like, oh, mountains. But after spending so much time in Yellowstone and Glacier, it was unfair. It was an unfair judgment of the Grand Tetons.
So after we saw all that, we continued on down south and got to Jackson Hole. And saw all that Jackson Hole is.
And exactly how out of our depth we are there.
Yeah. It is pretty much just like a bunch of art galleries and jewelry stores and fur stores.
And rug galleries.
And rug galleries that are catering to the ultra rich.
Uber rich people.
And I don't know how many of them they're there during the summertime, as so much as they are during the ski season. But it definitely catered to it. Definitely tourist trap. I think Jackson Hole has a population of like 9,000 people. And there was more commercial businesses and restaurants than you would typically see in a town of 100,000 people.
But when you say tourist trap, it was not a tourist trap like West Yellowstone.
No, not
like Branson. This was like a tourist trap for rich people.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. Like, people were probably looking at us like, oh, they're poor, because we had on like Under Armour and Columbia. I mean, it was just, it was crazy. I mean, we walked into one of these fur stores just to walk in and, looked at a coat that was like $24,000.
It's like, pet that with the back of your hand.
There's a rule sheet on the door when you walk into the fur gallery. You only pet with the back of your hand.
No Instagram photos.
Yeah, no selfies or Instagram. Not that I mean, I guess people do that, but okay. So Jackson Hole, the highlight of our trip to Jackson Hole, I thought, was the Mexican restaurant.
Yep, and taking photos with the antler arches.
Antler arches, that was neat.
That was kind of cool.
We ate at the Mary Piglets. Is that what it's called? Three Mary Piglets or something. And I had enchiladas, and John had some fajitas, and they were delicious. We've been craving Mexican since we got here, because we usually eat Mexican 1 to 2 times per week, and we've been living on sandwiches and cheeseburgers and or like steak and bison and whatnot. It's tearing my face up. So we were really excited to sit down and just have some grilled, I'm not going to call it healthy, but healthier-ish food. So it was good. It was really good. Then we packed up and left Jackson Hole and drove back up through the Grand Tetons and stopped at somewhere on the other side of Grant Village. That's the lake.
We went up to the West Thumb
yeah.
geyser basin.
That was neat.
Which we didn't do that one previously. We left it.
They have geysers like in the lake, just barely into the lake, but it was kind of neat. It made you think, that there's stuff like that going on all the way across the lake, under the lake.
It's really neat.
There is a wildfire going on the other side of the lake. They said it was about 50 miles from where we're staying, and you couldn't see like fire roaring, just smoke coming up. And
the ranger, I overheard her answering another couple that had asked about the wildfire, and she said that was actually one of the most remote, it was the most remote part of the park, and one of the most remote sections in the entire United States.
You have to go out to it by boat.
The only way you could get close to it would be by boat through Yellowstone Lake, and then you would have to blaze your own trail to get to it. So I think it's pretty much one of those things that they were just allowing it to burn and monitoring it. because fire is just a natural process of the evergreen forests on being able to regrow and everything else. But that was neat. So after we left the geyser basin and saw that smoke and all, we continued on down the Lakeshore Drive, following the upper part of Yellowstone Lake all the way around to Yellowstone Lake Lodge.
On the way there, we saw storks.
We did see storks, yes.
That's neat. I've never seen a stork in real life.
It was a herd, group, coupling, I don't know. It was like 10, 15 storks, I don't know.
At least, I'd say. We got some good pictures of those. That was neat. But yeah, then we continued on to the Lake Lodge, Lake Hotel,
Yeah. Yellowstone Lake Hotel,
Yeah.
maybe. 1890s it was built, something like that.
The original section of
the
it.
original
It's been
section,
added
yeah.
on to since then. But it was very nice, very luxurious as far as in-park accommodations go that we had seen. Yeah, I mean, it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The gift shop was very nicey and had art, for sale hung up all through in there. And the hotel itself was really pretty.
Well, and we thought, oh my gosh, when we walked in there, like, this place is so much nicer. Outside, when you got inside, we're like, oh my gosh, this place is so much nicer, amenity-wise and finish-wise and just expansiveness-wise compared to where we're staying. And I'm like, oh man, this place got to be really expensive. It is.
2 times what we paid to stay in the Grant Village Lodge.
Like you can't touch being there for less than $500 a night.
At the lake place.
Yeah, at the lake lodge.
Yeah.
And that was in the lodge hotel area. They did have cabins that we saw a little bit later on.
Cottages. They were sheds.
No. Do not, you will be disappointed.
Don't go to the cottage.
It may be called a cabin, a cottage, or whatever.
It's a shed.
It is a shed.
It looks like a cult commune cluster of these just little yellow sheds that you live in. Yeah,
Horrible.
I can't imagine. If you saw the lake hotel on the internet and then you thought you're getting a cozy little cottage that's reminiscent of that hotel and you got to this cottage, you are going to be upset. This was not bueno. Was not impressed with those for sure.
Right after we got done like looking inside the Yellowstone Lodge or Yellowstone Lake Lodge, we went outside and I was like, oh my gosh, like being around nature and wildlife this whole time, like you not only get desensitized, but like you're not looking for specific things.
Which is crazy because you should be.
Yeah, and I look over and I'm like, oh, that thing is real. I thought that was a statue when we first walked in. I thought it was a really realistic looking statue. No, it was a full size
bull bison. Huge.
Yeah, 2,000-pound bison.
Huge. Like huge. And it's just rolling around in the dirt, maybe 10, 12 feet from the door to this hotel. The side door, not the door that we walked in. It was a side door. But these people in the hotel, I guess, see it, and they come out and just start snapping pictures like they're at the zoo, and there's a fence between them and this SUV-sized animal. It was humongous. We just stood there like, oh, if that thing came running over here, it would have made it to us pretty quickly, but I think it would have opted to go towards the idiot people that were, talking to it 10 feet away from it. That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was really crazy.
Definitely a cool looking lodge. The hotel itself was really nice. I don't know what the rooms looked like, but the amenities looked really nice there. The cottages, I would caution you, do not expect the same out of those. If they're called cottages or inns or...
It looked like a shed. They looked like a shed. It was definitely incredibly smaller than the hotel room that we are sitting in right now. The entire cottage.
Not good.
No. So yeah, then we stopped and had a picnic dinner that night.
Yep. At Angler's Point.
Angler's Bluff.
Angler's Bluff, where we honestly
highly
were
suspicious.
looking over our shoulders nonstop because we were like the only people. It felt like we were the only people in the park at that point in time because we were so isolated, just the two of us.
And it was like cold and gray and dreary, and we're right next to the lake. And I really thought
You could hear like just thumps on the ground.
there was gonna be
twigs
a bear.
cracking.
We were waiting for a bear. We were like, this is it. This is how it ends. I know I've said that a few times on this trip, but I was like, I hope that they put on our tombstone, like, here lies John and Kelly Phillips, happily married for 9 days before we died from bear attack because they wanted my delicious ham
I hope
sandwich.
that bear chokes on me.
Yeah, sir. But yeah, no, we didn't die. It was fine. We did make it back up to the parking lot, and John tried to give away our cooler for the first time. Unsuccessfully. The people in the parking lot did not want the cooler, so we got in the car and we drove back up to the lodge where I had ice cream again. And then...
And a much less crowded line
Yeah.
than at the Yellowstone Lake Lodge.
For sure. Then we...
Went to the ranger-led program.
No, this is a different day. Night before we did the ranger program.
Oh.
Last night we went home or back to the lodge and started filtering through all of our luggage to get everything distributed at the proper weight.
Why can't they just up it to 60 pounds?
Right?
If they upped it to 60 pounds, so much easier.
It'd be fine. So
everything's 50 and a half pounds.
That was an hour and a half long task.
50 and a half
getting
pounds.
Everything kind of rearranged, and I think now finally we have everything. Both of our checked bags should be at weight or under. We each have a carry-on and a personal item. But I think it'll be all fine and dandy. So then we had to make the game plan for the car rental swap today. So today we needed to...
day what?
13. We needed to drive from where we were staying at Grant Village,
Lower Yellowstone,
to Logan International Airport at Billings, which is 4 hours and 22 minutes away. John decided that to make this 4 hour and 22 minute trip, that we needed to leave the house 7.5 hours early. Better early than late, I guess.
Yes.
But that meant that I needed to get out of bed and be ready to leave the hotel by 5:30 in the morning. I know we mentioned this earlier.
No big deal.
I like sleeping a lot. So we got up, we successfully left out the door at 5:26 a.m. Car all packed up, made the trip.
We did hit construction, but the people weren't there yet, so it didn't slow us down. We went through multiple construction zones.
So the 4 hour and 20 minute drive actually only took 4 hours, and we were in Billings at 9:30. So we stopped and had Cracker Barrel, which is my favorite. I had a delicious breakfast.
To do it all over again, you'd still choose Cracker Barrel.
I would, but I just would have slept for 2 more hours before eating it.
But no big deal. We ate Cracker Barrel and then we left there.
And then we drove to a zoo, Montana,
Well,
where we decided in the parking lot that we would not be attending Zoo Montana.
No, we did not have
First of all,
toddlers with us.
No, there was like a parade of strollers and toddlers. There wasn't even any like 10 to 12-year-old looking children. It was all littles, which made me think that this is like a petting zoo. Also, to be fair, any other zoo almost in the whole United States is going to be disappointing to us. Like if we make it at some point, I've been to San Diego, but not to their zoo. If we're in San Diego at some point, we should definitely go to that zoo. The Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, I have been to that. It was really neat. But other than that, I don't think any zoos are really going to impress us because the St. Louis Zoo is amazing and it's free. I mean, no other zoo in America basically is free.
Yeah.
So we decided not to do that. And then we looked for a cemetery. John found, because that's our thing.
Yep.
John found a cemetery, the oldest cemetery in Billings, which again
only goes back 135 years.
Right. So
we're in the West.
From like Bell Fountain and those types of places, or the cemeteries on, like Washington D.C., like that kind of stuff. At this, it was kind of unimpressive. So we drove around that for a little bit, and then we left there and just drove around Billings for like an hour.
No, not that long. It wasn't that bad. I mean, after we left there, we drove around a little bit, filled up the SUV, get it full on gas.
Yeah.
To drop it off. Had to go to the airport, do the drive-through, figure out how all that was, and then I dropped Kelly off with all the bags up there at the airport terminal, and then went and self-parked the Suburban.
Yep. And
went inside to turn it in, and then picked up the keys for this other beautiful beast of a vehicle that I got.
It could have been so much worse, but all I'm saying is I was standing outside the airport with a massive amount of luggage. People keep coming up and asking if I need help or I need help finding a ride or anything. And no, I'm just waiting for my husband. He's going to pull up the car any minute now. And then here comes John in a Ford EcoSport, which if you're not familiar with a Ford EcoSport, it looks like a small size SUV that somebody cut the butt end off of. It's like a
Ford Escape that got, it's like a dog that got scared and it's got its tail tucked under her and it's running away.
If a Ford Escape and a Geo Metro had a baby, it would be this vehicle. So it's so tiny. So he pulls up and he's just, and then the horn. It's the most ridiculous looking. I mean, it was hot.
Manly.
You looked hot. It was ridiculous looking, and it was definitely a serious game of Tetris to get all of this luggage into that tiny vehicle. But you know what? It got us from Billings to Bozeman barely, because it gets much worse gas mileage than the Suburban, which I find so surprising. And it really struggled to haul our big butts and all of our luggage up and over mountains at
a speed limit of 80.
Yeah, it was crazy. But you know what? It did it. It did the trick, and we have that car for one day. We're going to get a good night's sleep tonight at, we're at the Spring Hill Inn and Suites, which is very nicey.
A very nice hotel, yes.
And then we're going to get up
tomorrow. First time we've ever done this.
We did laundry here. They have a laundromat. So we're going home with no dirty clothes except for the clothes we're wearing right now. So that's neat. So we sat in the laundry room. We got a sneak peek of our wedding photos today. So about 20 of our wedding photos, and we're very happy with those. So we sat and looked at those and watched some videos on the laptop and did a couple loads of laundry, drank some wine. And now I'm going to shower the sulfur out of my hair. We're going to get a good night's sleep, and tomorrow we're headed home.
Yep. Overall, amazing time, amazing trip. Words, pictures cannot even begin to express the things that we've seen and done here, whether it was in Glacier or in Yellowstone.
Or the random stops in between.
Or the random stops or experiences that we've had in between. I really encourage everyone to have those own experiences and to see it themselves, because it's only through your own eyes that you can truly appreciate the wonders that you can see. I mean, it's baffling.
You should travel and have experiences and make memories. And that's always been kind of our goal and our philosophy. If we're going to spend money on something, I'd rather spend money on memories and experiences than on things. And I don't have a single regret about this trip or the way that we did our wedding, any of it. I have just nothing but the best memories and the best things to say about all of it. And I'm so happy. I'm sad it's over, but I'm ready to be in our bed.
We were just talking today about, oh God, this has been such great things. We've seen all these things, and then it's like also at the same time we're like, we wanted to go back to having a little bit of a slower day-to-day experience, you know. And
we're always have been really busy people, but we really hit it hard on this one. Every day, just hit the ground running and packed as much into every day as we possibly could, which is great. Again, no regrets, but I'm really looking forward to melting into the couch on Monday and just not doing anything. We have no, I'm sure we'll actually probably have to do a little yard work.
Oh, I got yard work to do, I'm sure.
But yeah, overall, it's been a great trip and a really great experience, and I can't wait for the next one.
And the best part of it, I got a wife out of it.
And I